Yes. So she didn't give it to him. No, you have no idea. You're thinking that that's they do not. They work against us here. I get, but it's very selfish. Do is sit back, and let us come on. So I want to add a gas. So, so the Wi-Fi won't work, and it does work. I just want people to shut the fuck up and listen. I wasn't trying to control anything. I'm supposed to control that household thing. It's so crazy. You, it's, no, shut. Please shut up. Listen, it's, she got pregnant in the first place. God, goodness, couldn't shut. Couldn't shut. I'm trying to get in here. Damn. And it just dragged and dragged. Just before stuff stops working. I'm thinking, wow, I believe in such. I don't want you to not have it. So it took all of 10 minutes to get it through. And just do it. The fight is over your brain. The fight is over your mind. It's not over mine. So straight cut studio, all of that. Of course. Damn. No, no, no. All of a sudden, it was. Come on. Hello, Dr. Winters. Do you see me, or can you hear me at least?
I can hear you.
Yeah, I told you that they were giving me problems with this. It's not letting my camera work. Isn't that crazy?
It is
You
crazy,
you
man.
work and I don't. People think that they're not trying to prevent us from sharing information. This is unnecessary. It took me about, what, 12 minutes to get you an email, and then it shut me off. And I'm trying to. Mm.
Can I do a short presentation?
Yes, please. My apologies, guys. This isn't me. I'm doing everything. I've the, got a professional account and everything. I've never had this happen before. You must be a bad Negro if they don't mess up my whole thing. I
Uh,
can't
uh,
get a video on. What is that about?
yeah. Can you put me up so I can
Yeah,
present?
you are up. Go ahead. They can hear you.
Oh no, but I'm talking about I want to show my slides.
Yeah. Oh, you want me to put the slides up? Wonderful.
Okay.
I'll put the slides up. And brothers and sisters, without further ado, this is Dr. Clyde Winters, a native Chicagoan. He is one of the foremost persons that combines anthropology, linguistics, genetics, social economic history, navigational history, iconography, as well as studying things like pottery
Yeah.
to show the global presence and impact of Black people everywhere, all over the place.
Well, how you doing?
And he's an expert in particular in ancient. I don't know. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Wonderful, and so can the audience. Um, please bear with us. This is what happens if you're really doing programming to make people think your platform should have problems. If your platform always works, everything's always good, y'all need to ask questions. I've got a teeny platform with less than 1,000 people.
Wow.
What are they afraid of? They're afraid of you guys thinking. So, Dr. Winters, I put up this book here. You can't see it, but I mentioned African empires in ancient America, and of course, Blacks in Europe. I'm ready for you to just take over, and I can really goof off tonight, not being on camera.
You don't have to be on camera, maybe, but you got to come in when I'm on a.
No. I'm going to come in. You go
Okay.
ahead, brothers and sisters. We have Dr. Clyde Winters. All of his books are available on Amazon.
Yeah.
All of them. All of his books are on Amazon. If you can't see this show on this platform, I'm going to go on my other YouTube channel so we can just move on because this is ridiculous. They're being very stupid. They're being very stupid, but we're not going to wait for them. We're going to go ahead and start. So everybody, give me just a few seconds, Dr. Winters, just a few more. And I'm going to go ahead and go live on what's this doggone thing? I call it YouTube. And that's who's got a problem with us. Get ready, get set. And I'm going to do this intro for everybody on the other places. That's why I have multiple things up, waiting for something bad to go wrong. You got to be prepared for folks to try to stop you. One more second, Doc.
Okay.
Without further ado, brothers and sisters, the Angry Black Men's Book Club is live. We have our guest, Dr. Clyde Winters, the author of over 36 different books. We're looking forward to him talking about Blacks in Europe, as well as talking about linguistics. There's another book, African Empires in Ancient America, among many, many others. I'm not going to waste any more time because StreamYard has been really stupid tonight, and we don't care. Dr. Winters, the floor is yours.
Thank you. How's everybody doing, family? Today we're going to talk about my book, Blacks in Europe, From Prehistory to Contemporary Times. And in this book, I talk about, the relationship and history of Black people in Europe. Many people think that that Europe is a white continent. No, Caucasians only began to expand across Europe only around 1200 BC. Prior to 1200 BC, there were no Caucasian people in Europe. I'm also going to talk a little bit about my manufactured genetic origins, the fake Eurasian back migration. In this book, I talk about the fact that so they teach you that that many Caucasians have a genetic profile that leads back to Europe. No, that's wrong. Caucasians originated in Central Asia. They didn't really originate in Europe, you see. And also, you can get my book, The World History of the Black Race. All three of these books, Blacks in Europe, From Prehistory to Contemporary Times, The World History of the Black Race, Manufactured Genetic Origins for Fake Eurasian Back Migration. You can get those, any of those books, you can find them at Amazon.com. Let me, I want to show this video to tell you a little bit about myself. Oh, no. Well, it's not working.
Oh. Welcome to my channel.
Okay, we aren't just Africans. Many people don't understand is that back in the day, they sent numerous Black chattel slaves to the New World. They sent them to the Caribbean, and they also sent them to the United States. What many people don't understand, though, is that beginning in 1625, the first chattel slaves were put on the plantations in the United States, and they joined Aboriginal Black Americans, foundational Black Americans who had been enslaved. And see, what they did in a sense is that the Protestants, they hated the Catholics, and many of the Catholics, as you know, they had money, they were rich, they owned the largest states in Ireland, Wales, and Scotland. They also owned many of the largest states in Britain. Do you know, family? Do you know that it was Black people who built the London Bridge? It was Black people who built the Tower of London. It was Black people who built the castles throughout Europe. Between 1651 and 1654, 300,000 to 400 Irish Roman Catholic Blacks were sold as slaves, chattel slaves. You never hear about the original Black Irish that came to the Americas. All they talk about is the Irish that came over after the potato famine. Those were not the real Irish. Those were not the original settlers. These were the serfs, serfs. Because the original Black Irish, they were the elites. They were the ones who owned the land, the largest states. They were the ones who owned the castles. Irish men served as mercenaries. They were sold to be placed in armies across Europe. especially France and Spain. Women were sold elsewhere. Many of these slaves were women and children sent to Barbados and the 13 colonies. 50,000 a year Irish slaves were sold to the New World. They were sold to the New World by Oliver Cromwell. Oliver Cromwell reconquered Ireland in 1649. He hated Catholics. He massacred 3,500 in the first battle. The rest were sold as slaves to 13 colonies in the Caribbean. These Irish slaves were sold in high numbers. You see, here's a picture of Oliver Cromwell. As you can see, Oliver Cromwell was just a straight-haired, light-skinned brother. You see, but many people don't understand that at that time it was friction between the Black Catholics and the Black Irish.
He looks like Cat Williams with the process.
He was an evil guy. He was an evil guy, very evil. You know, here's a picture where you can see. Now, this is I didn't draw this. This picture was done in the 1600s, and it shows you these Black women, these Black Irish women, and these Caucasians taking their babies, throwing them into the river, just drowning them. They were very horrible, very terrible. See, but this was based upon religion. I'm sorry. I feel that religions can cause a lot of problems. You know, Catholics against the Protestants, the Shia Muslims against the Sunni Muslims. Many people, in a sense, who can even have the same beliefs. They can believe in the same God and call the God by the same name, and yet they can hate each other and want to destroy each other. And so what we find is that in the 1600s, before 1670, because remember, those Africans that came to the United States, Jamestown in 1619, they were indentured servants. I repeat, the first Africans that came to Jamestown in 1619, they were indentured servants. The real chattel slaves were Aboriginal Indians and these Black Irish. And the first, look at this map.
Hold on 1 second. Just one moment, Dr. Winters.
Okay.
For everybody that's watching this, if you want to see it, you need to go to my StreamYard channel or my YouTube channel that's being streamed. There's no excuse. I sent the information out. The information's available. Don't bitch and complain on my phones. It's all up on StreamYard. The announcement was put out before 12:30 this morning. No reason you can't see it. If you elect to come here and look through YouTube, which is your choice, that's just to let people know. But in this instance, you want to go to the StreamYard and to get that link, it's out there. You can also see that you won't see a lot of things this way. That's why we pay for a StreamYard channel. We pay professional so you can see it. If you elect not to go there, that's a choice.
And it's also on my YouTube. It's on my YouTube channel and my Facebook channel.
And your YouTube channel is
Clyde Winters Black History.
Clyde Winters Black History. There's nothing stopping people. Please don't do that. We are more mature than that, people.
Yeah.
So it's up on multiple platforms.
Right. And so as you can see, the first triangular trade was between England sending over black Irish slaves, not African slaves. Remember, sub-Saharan Africans were not made slaves until after 1660 and really after 1700. You know, you may ask the question, if tens of thousands of Irish and Scotsmen were Negro or Black, especially the elites, why aren't they depicted as Blacks in the paintings? The answer is simple. Most of the original paintings of the Baradinaks, that's what you call the original inhabitants of the British Isles. They were the Baradinak people, or Black people like you, Black people like me, Black people like us. Here's a picture of King James. And King James, he translated the Bible. In the center picture, you see the original engraving of King James. You see, and then you see modern colored copies on the outsides. And as you can see,
okay, now he looks like Malcolm X in the middle.
Yeah, but as you notice, they changed this picture. They changed this picture to try to paint him white. And you're saying, how did they do that? Let me explain to you what happened. There was a man called Thomas Cromwell. And see, the paintings of the Baradanacs of blacks of Britain were purposely destroyed by this man, Thomas Cromwell. He hated Catholics and blacks generally. You see, Selwood did an article for the Telegraph, and he wrote that, and I quote, against a backdrop of Henry VIII's marital strife, the pathetically ambitious Cromwell single-handedly masterminded the break with Rome in order to hand Henry the church with its all-important divorce. Flush with the success of engineering Henry's first divorce, Cromwell moved on to confiscating the church's money. Yes, it's all about the Benjamin. He added that with lazy strokes of his pen, he condemned royalty, nobles, peasants, nuns, and monks to horrific summary executions. You don't even understand. You got to understand that they took all these black people. These were black people who are musicians. These are black people who were organists. They could play every instrument. They took the entire bands. They took all the elites. They took everybody that owned the land, and they sent them over here as slaves. And you know what they did? You know what they did? They allowed the white serfs. They allowed the white serfs that fought with Oliver Cromwell to take the land of the black Catholics.
Okay, and Dr. Winters, let's remind people, we have this YouTube up because we were having technical resistance from StreamYard. It will not allow my camera to come on. It's got Dr. Winters, but it doesn't have me. Go figure. If you want to see the pictures, the slides that he's putting up, you need to either come to my StreamYard channel, which has 46 people who figured out. All I have to do is click on the highlighted text and I'll go to the thing if they wish to. Or you can go to Dr. Winters, Dr. Clyde Winters, Black History?
Afrocentric History.
Afrocentric History. It's available versus you just hearing a voice. You can see what we're seeing.
Yeah.
I'm going to say it one more time. And from there on out, for anybody on here watching this in the stream, if you'd like to help, you can point people to Dr. Winters' channel. If they don't see it, they can't see it, it's up. So my StreamYard or Dr. Winters' YouTube channels. Repeat it one more time for them, and I'm never going to interrupt you again. We only have to tell white folk once. White people only have to tell us one time. We respect white people. Black people, we demand be told 10 times, and we still don't do it. That is an enemy. You have an enemy mindset when your folk give you info, and you still do the same thing. Life's going to be very difficult for people that don't get instruction when it's given the first time. When it's given the second time, you may not get a third. I will not interrupt you again, Elder.
Okay, well, I only got a few more because we want to get to the specifics. But again,
Yes,
Thomas Cromwell had a direct impact on the disappearing of arts, desiccating the Baradanacs. Selwood in 2015 wrote, and I quote, "And then there is the impact on this country's artistic and intellectual heritage. No one can be sure of the exact figure, but it is estimated that the desiccating destruction started by Cromwell amounted to, listen to this, family, amounted to 97% of the English art then in existence." That means that Thomas Cromwell, he destroyed all 97%. 97%. He destroyed statues were hacked down. Frescoes were smashed to bits. Mosaics were pulverized. Illuminated manuscripts were shredded. Wooden carvings were burned. Precious metal was melted down. Shrines were reduced to rubble. This vandalism went way beyond a religious reform. It was a frenzy, obliterating the artistic patrimony of centuries of indigenous craftsmanship with an intensity of hatred for imagery and depicting a divine that has strong and resonant parallels today. Now you know why we have very few artifacts depicting the Baradanacs. Yes.
And there's a term called iconoclast. And although they don't call, I don't know why I call him Oliver Cromwell when it's Thomas Cromwell.
Thomas Cromwell, he destroyed all the artifacts. Oliver Cromwell, he's the one who put the Black Irish into slavery.
Well, weren't they in the same contemporaries?
No, they don't know. Some people, they don't know if Thomas Cromwell, he was much later. They don't know if he was related to Oliver Cromwell or not. But as you can see, family, if you do have the slide, you can see the Telegraph. You can see the newspaper where it was. Thomas Cromwell was the Islamic State of his day. It's written by Dominic Selwood, and it was written in 2015. So if you want to get the authentic, if you want to get the original article, you can go to the internet. I like to bring receipts because a lot of Black people, they think you make up stuff. But you need to understand why. You know, when you look at this picture and you see these various people, you see Black people, doing various types of work. You can't tell if they were slaves. You can't tell if they were free. You can't tell if they were Europeans, Black Europeans, because they were all Black. There was an estimated 200,000 Black Irish to 400,000 Black Irish sold into slavery between 1651 and 1660. The Black Irish were replaced by whites from England who were given land to settle in Ireland.
And that's a conflict to this day.
It is. It is.
And those folks are up in Ulster. Those are the Orange Men. And in fact, the Irish Catholics were copying the Black folks when we were younger. Remember, they were singing "We Shall Overcome," and they got shot and beat. They were trying to copy Black Americans.
Yeah. But see, but the Black Irish, they didn't sing. The Black Irish, they used swords and bows and arrows. They fought. They didn't take it down. See, that's one of the reasons that make us a unique people, is because we're prisoners of war. We don't take lying down. We don't, in a sense, allow you to just whip our ass without fighting back. Many Blacks who live in the United States today have a direct European heritage. This class of FBA would mainly be descendants of Catholic Blacks, Irish, Scotsmen, sent to the 13 colonies between 1625 and 1660. Some descendants of free European Blacks probably went to Canada after the Revolutionary War. Right here, a lot of people say, Dr. Winters, stop talking this ish. What are you talking about? I want to read you some advertisements that go back to this period. Here's an ad written in July 1763. Listen, I quote, "Run away from the subscriber living in Lancaster. A native Irish servant woman named Kathy Norton, who came from the county of Wicklow in Ireland last fall. She is about 25 or 26 years of age, of a dark complexion, has black hair, and talks in the Irish dialect. Rocks in her walk and is pretty sharp and taking. She is a cunning hussy, and no doubt will pass a while for an honest woman." You see, they had these were the damn Irish slaves. These were your damn parents, your great-grandparents. Let me read you another one. This is from the Virginia Gazette. "Ran away the 8th of July last from the subscriber living in Westmoreland County. 4 serving men, John McHugh, Francis Mann, Daniel Fitzpatrick, and John Freelove. John McHugh is an Irishman of a middle stature, a swarthy. What does swarthy mean? Black. Of a swarthy complexion. His hair is just cut off and is a blacksmith by trade. He has one of his arms a bleeding heart, pricked with gunpowder, and a name at length with several other letters. He has on, when he went away, a bluish gray coat." And let's hear about this other brother. "Oh, Francis Mann is an Englishman of a middle stature, swarthy complexion, short brown hair, and yellowish rotten teeth." Yes, I don't have to make this issue up, but you need to know this because we're going to get deep into this. And when Dr. Short explains to you about genealogy and tracing our ancestors back, you'll see that, yes, it was Black Irish slaves here. But then what happens? See, how do we know? How do we know? Well, this is how we know. What they did is that they wanted to knock off they wanted to get rid of the Catholic king. So they wanted to get rid of King John. And so then what happened is that there became a movement called the Jacobite movement. But see, King William, he came from Germany. He had about a few thousand troops with him when he came. But he came from England, and they allowed him to become the King of England. And the reason they allowed King William of Germany to become the King of England was because the fact is that King William was married to King John's, one of King John's daughter. But what happened is they were very upset, very scared of the Jacobites, so they had a spy. So King William from Germany, he had a spy. The spy's name was John Mackay. John Mackay was a spy of King William III. His job was to spy on the Jacobites. John Mackay, in Memoirs of the Secret Services of John Mackay, 1733, tells us about his monitoring of the Jacobites. In the memoir, John Mackay described the complexions of the Jacobite leaders. In his writing, Mackay makes it clear that Charles Seymour, Duke of Somerset, Sidney Godolphin, Lord Treasurer of England, Daniel Finch, Secretary of State, the Earl of Nottingham, John Holmes, Duke of Newcastle, on the left. That's the picture they give you. Duke of Newcastle. Charles Leonard, Duke of Richmond, son of King Charles II, and his brother Charles Beauclerc, Duke of St. Albans. And he's on the left. Now you see these two people now, don't you? That's
Yes.
Okay, now you see their pictures, but this is how they really look. They were all the Duke of St. Albans. They were all described as having very black complexions or black rudies. See? Do you see? But they could change. They could change the pictures. Now these people that you see on the left-hand side, that was those people who were described as black. But what happened is that Thomas Cromwell, he destroyed all the paintings so he could, in a sense, make new paintings and make them look white. See?
And Dr. Winters,
Go
you
ahead.
mentioned this thing, and when you're talking about the escaped slave 2 slides ago,
Yeah.
and the name was called Lancaster. All right,
She was a hussy.
but she's from Lancaster. I don't know if that's Pennsylvania or where that was,
I was in Ireland, Ireland.
but it's
But
Lancaster.
that would have been Lancaster, Pennsylvania that she ran
Yeah, I
away
guess
from.
Lancaster, Pennsylvania, exactly. That's all named after these people who got forced out of England, because that's my maternal family. That's the conversation we've been having.
Yeah.
And so the family is in, these are British Catholics who got forced out, and they're in Pennsylvania, New Jersey, Maryland, and somewhat in Virginia. There's a few in North Carolina, but they all got land in the Chesapeake. They gave them Maryland, the colony for Catholics, to kick the people out.
Yes.
And that's where a lot of the people come from. So you see this over and over and over again, that a lot of the big names that you have on the East Coast are often the names of areas established by these displaced Irish or Catholic or Scottish,
Black Irish or Black Irish.
Black people, Black Irish. In fact, I'll go further. I didn't talk to you, but I was looking up today, and I need to look into it. But there's a possibility that Maria Santos, you need to pay attention. Paga atenção, por favor. Você precisa de buscar para minha página em StreamYard. Agora você não pode ver as picturas aí. You're never going to see it looking here. Eu dar as informações sobre isto há 12 minutos atrás. I'm done with that. That's my only other language. Look, hold it. What I'm saying, before I answer that, because people need to look, people need to pay attention. Pay attention, folks. It's not hard. And we don't do this when we're around white people. When white people tell us what to do, we get it the first time. When a black person says it 3 times, we still don't get it. You need prayer. It's on StreamYard. It's on Dr. Winters' channel. We said what that is. I ask other people, if you're on here, if you see someone asking a question, please tell them it's not up here. Okay, we're doing this to work around what StreamYard does. Let's work together, not against each other. I'm done with that. Look, Dr. Winters, there's a possibility that the state of Maine, right, New England,
Yeah.
may have been named for one of these families, one of these Moore families. Are you following me?
Yes.
One of these families from France. Uh, the name man is hand in French. Okay, Main is your hand, and then that became Maine. But there are people. There was a person that got killed in what's called Maine, fighting with Aboriginal people who was in the Maine family, but the original name is Man. Well, I'm going to ask you about that later, about how all of these Normans and other people who left Europe to take over, left continental Europe to take over England, went through a process of changing their names repeatedly as they changed their identities to fit in to the Anglo-Saxon society in which they were the minority rulers. You
Not
understand what I'm talking
Well, see, it's a little bit more complicated than that. You have to understand, in a sense, is that some of it was changed, some of the language changed, but you have to remember is that European languages, they change more quickly than African languages.
And I was saying,
As a
but
result,
the names, not the language changing, the family names changing.
yeah, but
Sometimes
see,
the names would be Arabic or Spanish or
yeah,
whatever, and
but
then
see,
they would keep changing it until you got what we would call English names, but they started off as something else.
yeah, but see, the names would change because remember we're not speaking in the original English dialect of
Right.
1600. That's why when you really study Indo-European linguistics, then you
Okay.
can see that these
Great.
changes over time. But it's very important to remember. Let me get back because I'm gonna be done and we'll get through and we can
Right.
really talk about this. Okay, King William III came to power through the support of parliamentary opposition to King James II. Williams was prominent soldier that was married to Kingill, daughters of Mary. Okay, in 1688, there was a parliamentary opposition invited William to take over the British crown. William landed in England in November 1688 with 463 ships and 14,000 troops. William marched on London and King James fled to France. In
Mm,
February 1689, William became King William III and Queen Mary II. This takeover of the crown by King William was called the Glorious Revolution. That's why, as you told the family, Dr. Short, often in a sense, that's why we see this relationship between those black people in the UK and in France, because of the fact, in a sense, many of them had these relationships. But there was another Irish relationship that came from the Danes, because see, many of the so-called Vikings that settled in Ireland, they were Moors also. But that's another story. We're not going there today. These are the
mhm,
Jacobites. The Parliament passed the Bill of Rights around this time. This law made it against the law for any Catholic or descendant of King James to become King of England. This picture is the Jacobite Prince James III in 1566. Yes, this is one of the few paintings that we have of the Black royals, and you can clearly see that this was a brother. You know, see,
mm.
King James
And
is
he looks like Charles Drew.
yeah. King James VI of Scotland was King James III of England. His son was James Francis Edward Stuart. He was the Jacobite Prince of King James III. See, you have to understand again, as I told you, much of this information on the Jacobites come from this book, Memoirs of the Secret Service of John Mackay, Esquire. This book, keep it up. Charles, he talks about all these people. He talks about Charles the Nuts, Duke of Richmond, son of Charles I, black complexion, much like King Charles. John Lord Somers, late Lord Chancellor, brown complexion. The Chancellor was black. Daniel Earl of Nottingham, Secretary of State, a tall, thin black man. Charles
Dr.
Duke of Summers.
Winters,
Go ahead.
remember I mentioned to you that up on this genealogical thing that some of the people in Nottingham, the Sirs, are on my family tree.
Yeah. We're going to
Remember
get
I
into
mentioned that
that
to
as
you?
soon as I get
No,
through.
I'm just saying that's wild that this Nottingham thing. That's because I'm like saying, God, how did we become black if everybody was white and you learn everybody's not white?
Right. But
Okay,
we
keep going. Keep going.
that's why
Keep going.
John McKay's memoir of the Secret Service is so important, because it's telling you how the Secretary of State looked, how the Lord Chancellor looked, how how the son of King Charles Duke of Somerset, pages 16 and 17, Master of the Horses, reign of Charles II, black complexion. John Duke of Buckinghamshire was Earl of Mulgrave in the reign of King Charles, brown complexion. Yes, yes. All you had to do is read the books. Here's some of the prisoners that were sent out of England. Look at these names. Let's look at these names. They were on a book. They was on a boat called the Veteran. It was a boat called the Veteran. The master of the boat was John Rickey. Let's look at some of the names. John Adam. He was a laborer. He was from the county of Stirling. He was brown. William Bell, a weaver. He came from Berwick. He was 5'4". He was black with curly hair, strong made. Douglas Campbell. He was a servant from Loch Harbor. Brown complexion, well made, ruddy. Alex Catanach, a miller. Badenoch, black, Rudy. See, healthy. Look at this, brown, black, brown, black, black, brown. They told you a lie. They tell you that every damn light-skinned black person, their grandmama was raped. That's a damn lie, man. That's a damn lie. Here's the evidence. Here's the receipts. But they had told you a lie. They had told you that all of us came from Africa. Yes, many of my ancestors came from Africa, but most of the people did not come from Africa. Most of our ancestors were Aboriginals, or they were Black Europeans, but they were, I'm sorry to say, many of them were chattel slaves, but not all of them. Not all of them. Not all of them. Try to get my books, Blacks in Europe, and the World History of the Black Race. And I hope you guys, right now we're doing a Black History class. Me and Sister Shanice has started on Monday. If you want to join this, you can go to sistershanice.gumroad.com. If you go here, you can join the class. The class is 199 pounds, or you can pay on installment. And the thing is that in this class, we're teaching more about the history of Blacks in Britain. Again, I just wanted to give you a little background, because see, when we start talking, when Dr. Short started telling you about the relationships between our people and how so many of us had these Black European and Indian ancestors, you see, you'll understand. But I didn't want you to look at this, and when he starts talking, for you to think that he's talking out of his neck. He's not talking out of his neck. He's not trying to brag. We're not bragging about it. I could care less. Stop clap. I could care less. But we're here to teach you some knowledge, family. We're here to teach you about our history. And we have a great history. We have what's called a tripartite origin. A tripartite origin. That means that we have three co-ancestors that led to our ethnogenesis. Our ancestors are the Aboriginal Blacks, the Black Irish, the Scottish, and finally the Sub-Saharan Africans. But the Sub-Saharan Africans, they didn't become chattel slaves until about almost 70 to 100 years after they already was enslaving the Aboriginals and the Black Irish. You need to know this. See, Dr. Short, can you tell them about your journey in
Well, my
searching your
journey
family roots?
is, if you can hear me.
I can hear you. Oh, well, Dr. Short is well, I'll tell you about this is that Dr. Short, much about Dr. Short's relationship and Dr. Short's history comes from the fact that he lives in Virginia and North Carolina. Virginia and North Carolina was a starting point for many of our ancestors because it was in Virginia, North Carolina, up in Massachusetts, up in Pennsylvania. This is where many of our ancestors, Aboriginal ancestors, and Black European ancestors were enslaved. Many of these Black people. What happened is that because of the fact that Oliver Cromwell he hated Catholics. He hated Catholics greatly. He hated Catholics so much that he despised them. And because he despised the Catholics, then he sought to go out and kill these people. He sought to, in a sense, try to just, make them invisible. But he couldn't make them invisible. See, this is what he did. He said in Parliament, Oliver Cromwell said that we're going to send these Catholics. We're going to send these Catholics, these Irish, Scotsmen, and Welshmen. We're going to send them over to the Caribbean. We're going to send them over to the 13 colonies. And it was his hope that these people would come to Virginia, come to the 13 colonies, go to Jamaica, go to Bermuda, go to Barbados, go to Montserrat, and that there they would probably be worked to death or they would die out. Oliver Cromwell in the Parliament, he said that we will send these Black Irish, he didn't say black, we will send these Irish Catholics, we're going to send them over to the Americas, and we're going to make them, in a sense, chattel slaves for perpetuity. Perpetuity. That means forever. See, Oliver Cromwell never thought that our ancestors would survive. In fact, he never thought that our ancestors, like many other people in Jamaica, he never thought that our ancestors would return in a sense to Europe, would return in a sense after their sojourn down in the Caribbean. You see, often many of us, you feel almost ashamed. I don't feel ashamed, but many people feel ashamed. Many my wife, my baby doll, my wonderful one. Her father, in a sense, he was married to her mother. Her grandfather was an Irish Cherokee, and her grandmother was a Blackfoot. That's what her big sister told her. And so then, it's kind of embarrassing, because if anybody, this foundational Black American, if they tell another Black person that they have, in a sense, any European heritage, or if they have any Irish ancestry or Welsh or Scottish ancestry, then a lot of times people will attack you, and they'll try to make fun of you. They'll try to make you into a joke. But that's kind of sad, because see, we do have these things, and that, as I tried to show you in that short presentation, is that they did know. They knew you were Black. When they talk about how the Irish turned white, a lot of times you think that, oh, why did they say that? Oh, they meant that they were acting like Black people. Oh, they were poor. Like, no. As I've already shown you with those slides, I've already shown you that the Irish, the original Irish who came here between 1625 and 1660 and thereafter, that they were Black. I also showed you that many, in a sense, of the Jacobites, when they were kicked out of Britain, they were Black. The Huguenots, yes, the Huguenots, they were Black too. Many of them were Black too. You see, that's why. If you remember when they said that Obama was related to President Baby Bush, and that they were all related, and they were related via the Huguenots. That's because many of the Huguenots were black too. See, what's happened is that the European had to go through a process of trying to invent a lie. And he had to try to invent a lie because of the fact that it is so very few. It is so very few Caucasians, on the earth today, or even in history, In 1751, Benjamin Franklin, he wrote this passage, and he said that the only Caucasians, the only white people on earth were, in a sense, the Saxons. He said the French were black, swarthy, which means black in German. He said the Germans were black, you see. He said the Portuguese and Spanish were black. But then in our mind, we say, how could this happen? Why do you want to tell me this, Dr. Winters? Why do you want to break my heart? Why do you want to, in a sense, yeah, Dr. Short, I'm still talking. Come on back. I'm here. Well, come on back. They're gonna let you in. We're waiting. Okay. See you soon. That was Dr. Short. So again, I'm going to tell you something. Dr. Short and we've been talking about this for the past few weeks. And see, Dr. Short, he started really putting a lot of pressure on Ancestry.com. That's the Mormons who collect all this genetic data. And so what they did is that the Mormons, they collected a lot of this genetic data. And what happened is that when they started running the DNA of Dr. Short, what they found, in a sense, was that Dr. Short had so many. See, like many of you, even some of you have probably seen some of the printouts when you went to have your ancestry, when you did the genetic test. They started talking about you had European ancestry. You had some sort of relationship. And so what happened is that Dr. Short, he kept confronting the Mormons. He kept saying, hey, give me the real truth, the whole truth and nothing but the truth. And what's happening is that these Mormons, they don't want that information out. They don't want the information out that Dr. Short is going to share with you today. Because Dr. Short has the receipts on his genealogy. He has the receipts. He not only, in a sense, has the textual evidence, in other words, the records, he also has the genetic evidence. And this is one of the reasons why I think that they're trying to attack his show tonight. That they're trying, in a sense, when he's talking about other stuff, when he's talking about black stuff, they don't get upset. When he's talking about our leaders are no good, when he's talking about these other things, they don't attack him. But they're attacking him now because, remember this. Remember, indigenous people, the rights of indigenous people are never, in a sense, have a time limit. See? And many people, if you can chart your ancestry back to Ireland, Scotland, and Wales, that means they owe you money. They don't want to have to give you money. They already owe us money for what they took away from our Aboriginal ancestors, you see? When they took away the land from the Choctaw, my family in Mississippi, damn, see? But the whole point is this, is that the information that Dr. Short has found, the connections that he's found, these connections are so important because these connections make us understand why many of us are we're so related. And one of the reasons that we're so related is that North Carolina, Virginia, Maryland, Kentucky, these states, in a sense, were states that were breeding slaves, and not only breeding slaves, but then, in a sense, these slaves, in a sense, were sold in Mississippi. But then some of our ancestors were never slaves. My ancestors were, most of my ancestors were slaves. It's probably some that wasn't, but who gives a damn? But the thing is this, is that many of our ancestors weren't slaves. But as I showed you in the slides, that so many black people were described as blacks, the Jacobites, the Huguenots. And because they were described as black, then many of them, in a sense, were pushed away out of, in a sense, being really accepted by white folks, even though many of them were light skinned. Some of them could even pass for white, and we've always seen that. But see, what you have to understand, in a sense, is that the white man did not give us, the white man didn't give us our surnames. He doesn't like you. He doesn't like you. So why would he want to give you your surname? You see, the white man didn't rape every black woman. That ain't why some of us are light skinned, but the vast majority of us are dark. Some of us are light skinned when we came over here. Lies, lies, lies. And that's why we're here tonight, to try to help you to understand our true history. See, are you there yet, Dr. Short?
Yeah, I'm here. And Dr. Winters, this is freaky, man, that I can see you, but you can't see me.
Yeah, but you've been messing with those Mormons, man.
Well, and the GCPs, it's both.
Yeah.
It's messy. This is how I'm going to do this, and because I want to have you talk about blacks in Europe, because I have a family member who was able to trace his family back 1,500 years and got depressed because he felt everybody was white, and I was trying to tell him those people weren't necessarily white. You've you've been lied to, but all of this decades ago, just asking a simple question: who are we? All I want to know was who are we really? I hear what people said in school, but nothing's quite making sense, because on one hand you tell me I'm Negro, and then you change that to black. And I like black better than Negro. Negro sounded odd to me, at least when I was young. And you tell me black folks, everybody comes from Africa. That's fine. Africa's okay. We would see all of the doctari and all the things. I thought Africa was great. Uh, but things didn't make sense. As I said to people, you go to family reunions and nothing makes sense. Uh, and that problem picks up when I get older. We have a family genealogist whose last name is Davis, a Jewish name, and my cousin historian. I had two on both sides of the family, with one uh, uh, Thelma Doswell, or Thelma Short Doswell, born about 1919, thereabout, or either 19, somewhere in there. And she came up with the term called Afromarin. If you've ever seen that, Dr. Winters. Afromarin is the African, European, Indian people of the Americas.
Was she the one who worked with Haley?
That's my cousin.
Okay.
I grew up with her. Yeah,
All
that
right.
was, so yeah, that's my cousin, and all of the people are from Virginia, North Carolina, and they're the first people here, going back to Jamestown. So when you get this kind of introduction, of course, we knew Alex Haley. Everybody needs to know Alex Haley is a total fraud, a liar, a crook. In fact, my cousin Thelma, who worked with Alex, he never told the truth of Black people's history ever. Roots is a forgery; it's a fraud. He got sued many times, and even the title Roots was stolen from Thelma. That was her name for her research, was Roots, which was supposed to morph into a history of the Black family in America. And Haley ripped her off, as he ripped off many other people. But let's get to it. We always knew that there's this Indian, and reluctantly we didn't like, because the whole idea of everybody having light skin meant that you got raped somewhere. And so that was a big problem in my mother's family, where a lot of people are very light skinned. So the gentleman who was the family historian, Thelma is on my father's side. Um, I think his first name is Billy. William was on my mother's side, and William looked like Luciano Paravati, and he absolutely hated white people. So you couldn't even mention that there was any white people in the family. This is a person who could pass, would literally be ready to punch you in the face for mentioning that there was ever anybody white in the family. And he was so determined to make certain that there were no white people in the family until he only would do the family history back to the 1840s. And basically, his thing was, it was a white man had a black woman, they had 3 boys, and that's all you need to know. And all the histories from the 1840s forward. So, in a nutshell, we tried for many years to get our cousin to do more, to expand this, and he had a determination to not. He believed that the people from Europe were all white, and this was all about rape and incest. So he had no interest. All I can say to you is, for the last, I'd say off and on, the last 10, 12 years, I couldn't get in touch with him to try to find out how in the hell did my mother's family have the same surname continuously for 180 years. That's just not normal for a black family. And I wanted to find the white people. At least, and I also wanted to find out who was the slave that my cousin kept saying, there's a slave woman, a slave woman, a slave woman, and that's it. And within the last few months, I got familiar with this thing called family. I was just looking at it. Let me get the name right, because I forget names these days. You know what it's like to get old. But
can you type that in the chat for the family?
Yeah, I will type it. It's called Family Tree. It's free. You can get a free app, Family Tree. The Mormons put it up. My question to my page last night was, why haven't the goddamn black churches or any of these black colleges, why hasn't anyone thought to try to bring this stuff together for black families to be reunited? Howard University had Dr. Kittles, one of the pioneers of the DNA research. Why not Howard? Because almost everybody doesn't like who or what we are, and therefore certain sorts of research and things are off-putting to people. But I had been asked by a cousin of mine, because I think you recall last year when you and I were talking, I was waiting. I paid for 4 different DNA tests. One of them was for 23andMe. I wanted 23andMe because 23andMe would allow you to meet people that are alive right now. And someone just sent me a message. I sent them an email at before 8 o'clock for Sister Eve to join us. And she just got the email now, if you don't understand that they're playing. Well, anyway, 23andMe, I figured I might meet some people and I could get some answers, because a lot of the older people in my family, either they're dead, or they wouldn't talk, or they were embarrassed, or they just didn't know. And what ended up happening was I took the 23andMe, and I also did another one, Family Heritage DNA. And Family Heritage DNA lost my test. They gave me all my numbers and told me everything was set. And when my 8 weeks had gone by, I asked them, not 8 weeks, a couple weeks went by. I even sent it express mail in Texas, where their testing facility was. I made certain it was in the same state. and they told me they didn't have my test. And I gave them my code and everything, and they says this isn't a valid code. I says, well, I can't make up a code compatible in your own system. Someone gave this to me, and damn it, I need to find it. So only after some haggling, they were able to set it back up. I got that information, which was very useful. That gave me, for the first time, information that we had family from Central America and from Ecuador, Peru. I've got That's common for all the people in my family group, that we have ancestry from South and Central America. That was a unique thing. Of course, we have stuff Africa and other places, but the 23andMe was a real problem. 23andMe did exactly what Family Tree DNA did. Family Tree DNA. After 9 weeks, I asked them, "What can I have my results?" And the people told me, "Well, no, you can't, because your results are corrupted." And basically, me and the lady had an argument, because I says, "How is it corrupt?" She says, "You were eating." I says, "I wasn't eating." "You brush your teeth." Says, "I don't brush my teeth." "Well, you just can't have it." And I says, "Why not? Why? Maybe I'll do another one. Why can't I see the results of this one?" And I guess it was a white lady. She didn't like what the results were. The results were for Family Tree DNA. If you understand that the Vikings and the Norwegians and those people were the rulers of England, when I came up with the Scandinavian DNA, they figured that was a mistake, or it's an insult. For anyone that knows how to interpret the genetics, it means I would be in royal lineage, says white people. So therefore, we reject your test, because we've confused and lied to people that Black people have always been slaves since the beginning of time. No one ever did anything. Everything comes from us. But when we get these DNA tests back, it means they come from us, and everything we did made them. That makes us DNA testing. They love to tell you 100% Africa so they can write you off. When they see this other stuff, it creates problems. Since I knew this was an issue, I knew a little bit because I have a little bit of a history background. I took the 23andMe, hoping that 23andMe would at least connect me to someone where I could talk and compare notes. That's how genealogy works. A lot of times you plug into someone else asking the same questions. In a nutshell, 23andMe told me that my first test, they could not extract my DNA. They were completely unable after 10 weeks. So I had to send them another sample. I sent them another sample, and I followed it carefully. And they got to the extraction point, and they were about to give me my results. And all of a sudden, they wrote me and told me that they could not extract my DNA, and that I was eligible for a full refund.
I wonder why. I wonder
I got a
why.
full refund, and they would refund me this time, but there would be they would not refund me if I requested another DNA test. They would simply not extract the DNA and not refund me my money. Whoever it was, literally eliminated my 23andMe uh, access to my account. I paid for that. You okay, you can take the test, but you're gonna shut me off the account. I couldn't even get my kit number to request my refund. Are you hearing me, Dr. Winters? I mean, someone really went to town on me. So I wrote them and said, "You guys locked me out of my account. How am I going to give you my kit number for you to refund me?" By the way, if you ever get refunded by 23andMe or any of these people, they do not refund you postage. They will only refund you the kit. I got refunded the postage and the kit
What?
without having to fill in the necessary form to get the refund. They just like, "Nigger, go away." No, no, nigger, We mean no, nigger. Here, get out. So I was like, damn, that what is it that they didn't want me to see that they would get? They gave me the postage and I can't resubmit. Wow. I had the same thing with Family Tree DNA when I reached out to one of the royal families. The Lancasters, a royal family, whether people know that or not. I'm not tripping off it. I'm a happy Black American, but it is what it is. The people in the family that go back to Liverpool, when I said, hey, look, we match up on the DNA thing. We've got people that were in Jamestown, Virginia as early as 1620. They never wrote me again. The people that get to be white off of it do everything they can to obscure. It's like people stealing everything when your mama or your grandmama dies. Other people in the family don't talk to you so they can have all the stuff. Whenever you approach them, they disappear because a lot of these people have stuff. No, and this person says they probably think they don't aren't related. They know that the other people know that we're out here. That's why Meghan Markle is married to Harry. She's more of royal blood than he is, and she's darker than he is, and she's less royal than her mother with the nose ring. And her mother is less royal than the father, her grandfather, who's Black. Because these people, they've been doing this now for about 20 years. The British people have been trying to find out where their royal lineage people are. They know we're here. They actually know it. And they're more cool about it than your white Americans who have, see, being British is a little deeper than just being white. You can claim it. America, this white thing isn't real. It's artificial. It is a gang counter gang identity. It's a counter. It's an oppositional identity. It isn't rooted in factual history.
And not only that, Dr. Short, most of them, they don't really have a legitimate ancestry in England. They don't have a legitimate ancestry. And as a result, when they see it, when they find out that you're a Lancaster, you're a Lindsay, maybe a Winters, that upsets them because they know that if you can really get the evidence, you can go back and you can show that relationship.
And that's what happened with Meghan Markle. Look, Fergie is sick with cancer right now, but Fergie is a commoner. They'll never call Meghan Markle a commoner, people. Why? No matter what they say about her, they'll call her a bitch. They never say she's a commoner because Meghan Markle is of royal blood. They hate her. She's Black. She's a throwback. And her mama with the nose ring is where she gets it from. It's not from the white father, meaning that the British people who are also engaged in cultural theft and appropriation. When you see Meghan Markle and you see her mama, this is a big fight, as you know, Dr. Winters. The British people are finding out the original people in Britain are Black. This is a shock. A lot of these other people are folks who came in later. They're not the real deal. We are the original people everywhere. And I want to say one more thing, Dr. Winters. When I got the rejection from 23andMe, I talked to people like you and others, and you encouraged me, Dr. Winters, to keep looking. They're hiding something. Somebody's lying. I knew I had an ancestor born in the 1790s, and as far as I could see, he was free, and the census said he was Black. So I was trying to figure out who's the slave. Where's the slave mama? That's the person from Africa. So all this came from me trying to find out who was the slave in my mother's paternal lineage. I just wanted to know who it was because I have no shame in people having been enslaved. My thing is, how do we solve the problem instead of whining about a problem that we had or are having? And I kept looking, went to this thing called family research, and I got the breakthrough. I was able to go back and find ancestors, the early 1700s, and everybody was related. There's no slave. I got his father, and then his father, and I can go back to the 1100s comfortably. And but when you go back, you find out who they're married to. I think I sent you a link. You couldn't see it, but one of my grandfathers was in charge of the mint for King Henry VIII.
Yeah.
I have a grandfather that was president of Oxford University, a grandfather that was mayor of London. We we've been great people all along.
Right.
They've done all this beating, killing, raping, molesting, ghettoizing, and they haven't broken us yet because we're not going to get broke.
See, but here's the whole point. Family, you had to understand. I know this is shocking to you, and I know that you think this is cap. It's not cap. What you had to understand is that we always had a black middle class. We had a black middle class and a class that had, in a sense, many and various, opportunities. We had shipping companies. We had all type of companies. Everybody was not a chattel slave. You see, many people like to think that the boule only began, after Reconstruction. The boule was always here. The only problem is that these were black people who, in a sense, had their own little communities, but they had money, they had wealth, and they had status. And many Europeans were afraid of them. Many Europeans hated them. And see, that's one of the reasons why they gave Dr. Short such a hard time trying to really look at his ancestry. For example, David McRitchie. David McRitchie, he talks about the Winters family that was over in England. What's up, Eve? They talk about the Winters family that was over in England, over in Ireland. He was talking about my family was a bunch of thugs just because we was real black and strong. I mean, damn, I can't help it. It run in the family. But my father's side, the Winters side, they were mainly, in a sense, very light skinned. They were very, in fact, I was light when I was young, but the smarter I got, the darker I got.
Stop hating. Stop boasting.
I lost my lightness.
You should have kept using that ambi like your mama told you to, and you got trifling. Remember, your mom would put ambi on you in the morning before you left the house.
Yes, sir.
Okay, to keep you from getting too dark. Yeah, y'all don't know about that. It didn't work for me. I hated that shit.
We and my father, he was light skinned, gray eyes. He was a big hoe. He couldn't help it. He couldn't help it. He couldn't help it. That's just a winner's trait. We just no. I'm gonna stop. Keep going, Reverend Short. Dr. Short, keep going, please.
Come in here because I don't know. There are people who keep making these incredibly odd comments like, he's related to everybody. Do you realize, pardon me, how goddamn stupid we are?
We are.
That we don't want to be related to each other. It's a goddamn stupidity coming out of your mouth. We bitch about how people hate us, how we're being erased by illegals, and yet we don't fucking want to be a people. We have a lot. In fact, the people who really thrive on sticking together and people that are resilient and strong are the men in their group. It's interesting. The only men that stick together among black folks are fags, Greeks, and Masons.
Yes.
How come straight black men don't want to have common cause? And there's nothing better than being the same kind of people, sharing a common heritage. And when you talk to people, they get mad if you have some connection to them. You know what? You're going to get wiped out in this Hunger Games world that we're going into if you don't have a large network of people to get along with, or that you can communicate with or share common cause with. Your ass is going down. That's why black folks are getting beat down, because they don't have large collectives. It used to be black families. You had these huge family gatherings where people knew down their fourth and fifth cousins to keep people from screwing their first cousins and producing a lot of inbred retards like what we have these days. Now these folks feel like just if it's a hole, stick something in there. If he's got a pole, fit on top of it and ride it, see where it takes you. You end up producing a bunch of inbred, self-hating, destructive morons.
True.
Instead of constructive breeding.
Let me try to
husbandry.
Let me try to explain. Okay, family, what you don't understand is that what you don't understand, I know you got to understand this, is that America ended the Atlantic slave trade in 1800.
1808.
When America ended the Atlantic slave trade, that meant that the only place that you could get slaves from was the other states, mainly North Carolina, Virginia, Kentucky, West Virginia, and Maryland. See, as a result, just about every one of you, if you really start to investigate your heritage, you will see that what they did is that most of our ancestors were taken from North Carolina, the Carolinas of Virginia, and they were taken to Mississippi. They were taken to Alabama. They were taken, in a sense, to Florida and to the other states. And what happened is that meant that your cousin, your uncle, your auntie, was sent to maybe a different state, maybe Alabama. Maybe they were sent to Mississippi, like most of the Winters went to Mississippi. And as a result, what happened is this. What happened is you are so related to so many people. And you related to so many people because we didn't stay in North Carolina. We didn't stay in Virginia. See, we were spread all over the deep South. You see? And that's one of the reasons why when you try to say that Dr. Short is saying that he's related to everybody, I'm sorry to say this, many of us are related. A lot of us are very related because of the fact that they had to send those slaves from North Carolina, the Carolinas, Virginia, Maryland. They sent them into the deep South to work. One of the things that hurt us, though, is that during the interstate slave trade, the average slave was sold at 5 years old. Since the average slave was sold at 5 years old,
and they were often sold by the pound or by the dozen, like eggs.
Right, and because a lot of them didn't know their history, but a lot of times on the plantations, they would keep our auntie, they would keep our grandma. That's why the Jolie, the griots of the foundational Black American community are usually grandmas and aunties, because the grandmas and aunties, they were more stable. They stayed on the plantations longer, and they were able to relate to us our history. They were able to relate to us our culture.
That's Big Mama. And nowadays,
Dr. Short,
yes, ma'am.
I have a question for Dr. Winters based off what he was just saying. Dr. Winters, what about us that are related to the land, like people who have last names that are the same as cities?
Okay, the thing is this, is that, remember, in a sense, many of the names may have been from cities, but you look in a sense at the surnames. What happened is this: between 1625 and 1680, the vast majority of chattel slaves on the plantation were mainly Aboriginal women and Black Irish, Black Welsh, and Black Scotsman men. That's why so many of us have these surnames: Winters, McCoy, McLean, Crawford. That's how we got those surnames. And when these Aboriginals would escape and go back to their village, they would intermarry on the village. That's why when you look at in a sense the Dawes list, you find that just about all the Cherokees, the Seminoles, they all have in a sense Irish and British and Scottish names. And those names come from the fact, in a sense, of that melting on the plantations, because the number one chattel slaves up until 1700 were mainly Black Irish, Black Scottish, and in a sense, Aboriginal. It was some black women. I think they sent what? They sent 100,000 Irish children into slavery in the Caribbean, you see, and into the 13 colonies. Sister Shanice, what she found is that when she was donating blood, and it was people in a sense, she was donating blood for people who suffered from the blood cancer, and they told her that someone could use her blood in America. At that time, she said she didn't understand. At that time, she didn't understand why there was a relationship. But one of the reasons why she probably had a relationship, even though her ancestors came from Jamaica, and her blood was identical to a brother in America, that's because of the fact that when they sold the Black Irish, they sold them into Jamaica, they sold them into Montserrat, they sold them into Massachusetts. And see, what we had to understand, we had to move away from this whole idea. You see, because sadly, our scholars, Du Bois, John Henry Clark, bless his heart, you see, Carter G. Woodson, they followed the white man, and the white man said that everybody came from Africa. So they ignored the fact that their grandmama said, hey, you got Choctaw, you got Cherokee, you got Yuchi, you got Jamasi, you got Tuscarora, you got all these Aboriginal ancestors, and yet they wanted to run away from it. Gates is a perfect example. I'm talking about Gates at Harvard University. His family told him that he had, in a sense, Aboriginal ancestry. And Gates, in a sense, what up, no? And Gates, in a sense, he refused that. He took a test, and he found out that he carried R1, the R1 Y chromosome. And then he said, hey, I'm British. I'm not black. My mom and daddy lied. No, fool. 22% of foundational Black Americans carry the R1 Y chromosome. And in fact, Anzique baby, the 10,000-year-old baby, of the first Americans after the Ice Age, 10,000 years ago, carried R1, baby. And 22% of us today continue to carry R1. What does that say? That says that many of us go back 10,000 years in this land. The red man just got here. Stop. Not knowing who and what you are.
So Cactus Hill is ours.
Yes. See, and that's the whole point. But see, they told you, oh, you light skinned because your grandma was raped.
Mm-hmm.
They told you light skinned because your auntie was raped. That's a damn lie. A lot of us was already light skinned. I already showed. I don't know if you were on, Eve, but I already showed how when John McKay, when he was spying on the Jacobites, I thought these were black, these were light skinned, these were red. You see, we always had red bones, red bone girls and boys. You see, we always had high yellow. We always had dark and black. But that didn't take away, in a sense, our ancestry. The only problem is that it's a lot of people who have large platforms. And they have these large platforms, and because they don't, I'm a researcher. Because I'm a researcher, I go and I look at the original documents, you see. Dr. Short, he's a researcher. He goes into those archives, and he's been doing that with his genealogy. He's not trying to cap. I already showed you, look. I already showed you how the treasurer, the chancellor. In England, they were sold. They were sent to America. I showed you how the white man, he even put on the ship your damn color.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and Dr. Winters, remember I sent you that description from the Maryland Historical Society that my ancestors were described as freemen.
Yeah.
And these bastards had slave ships. I'm thinking, why are you differentiating this group of people? If they were white, why did they need to have a different classification for them?
That happened in 1670. Remember, in 1670, Virginia declared, for the first time in law, it was declared the white man in law and the black man and woman. And so then thereafter, they referred to people as black and as whites. But see, they couldn't say that they were enslaved, so they called them freemen. But see, the free colored people, The free colored people, those were aboriginals. You know, that's why a lot of times you see how the free colored population, they kept increasing, but it wasn't no slaves being manumitted. There were no slaves that was given their freedom. It increased because as more and more Indians, as more and more aboriginals had their land taken, they were called free colored people.
In
After
fact,
that land was taken.
and I know you've seen the article that was in the Journal of Negro History from the 1940s when some of the people tried to bring this issue up of the whole Aboriginal black thing, and it made a lot of people mad. But they would do things like in Massachusetts, decertify whole tribes if there were any people that were African. If they basically said, if y'all get any black dick, you guys all have to be black. We're gonna take your land. We'll show you. You can't have no black sex, and that's not gonna work. That's not gonna work. So they went around punishing people, declaring people black or Negro, and stripping them of their right to be who they were. And the same thing happened, of course, in Virginia with Dr. Plecker, and also the Racial Integrity Act of Virginia of 1924. It's to say that you can be black or Negro and white. You can't, Indians don't exist anymore.
You see what happened is that today, a lot of dumb people, they go to these powwows and be embarrassed. For example, people used to get mad at me, and they used to get mad at David Imhotep, may rest in power. David and I, a lot of people say, we love y'all research. We know y'all talking about Aboriginal history. David, his ancestry was Navajo and Arapaho, a lot of hoes. But anyway, but my ancestry is Choctaw. And so then they would say, I love what you do. I love it. But why do you keep calling us black? These people don't understand. The only way that I could discover that there were, in a sense, black Indians was because the explorers said you were copper colored black. How could I find black Indians if the colonists, if the settlers didn't say that they were black? But these people, they're so ashamed of being black. They're so ashamed that they sold us out. See, I always say B1. And the reason I say B1 is because of the fact that we sold each other out, our Aboriginal ancestors, our free black European ancestors. We sold each other out. We always felt that if we just would go along with the white man, we would be okay. And it didn't work out that way. Every time we went along, every time we became a coon, that in a sense led to our destruction. That led to our demise. But what I want you to understand, family, is this. See, stop thinking that because a brother like Dr. Short and others are able, in a sense, to find and show their ancestors went back to the 8th century. That ain't nothing to be surprised about. You forget. Black people ruled Europe from 711 AD. 711 AD to 1492. They even show you that the first black people in a sense, the first black people who you found in Europe, in Britain 22,000 years ago, Chatham Man was a brother. You see, in fact, he looked like one of our jazz musicians. What I'm saying is that you have to get authentic history. People say, Dr. Winters, why have you written 50 books? I wrote 5 books before this recent series. But he said, why do you wrote 50 books? I wrote all these books because I want to get people stimulated. I want to get people, in a sense, to understand our true history. I've been begging Dr. Short. I've been begging Dr. Short to come out here and tell you about his research, his great research. You see, I've been wanting him to tell you about his research because it's time we stop listening to these people. Some people got really great platforms. Some people can do it and they talk a lot of ish, but they don't know their history. You see, I heard a brother trying to debate with this South African, and he was saying, oh, the South African said, you foundational Black Americans, y'all didn't do nothing for us. Then the brother started talking about all the Black musicians. Stevie Wonder, that ain't the shit that got South Africa free. You know what got South Africa free? I belong to the Chicago Teachers Union. And we said, take our money out of that fucking shit. I don't want my money. I don't want none of my pension money. I don't want none of my pension money invested in any South African stock. And that's how the South Africans got free. South Africa didn't get free because of somebody singing some song. They got free because we started, in a sense, wanted, in a sense, our money to be taken out of those stocks. And that's what you have to do.
Excuse me, Dr. Winters. We need to be white for a moment.
Go ahead. I'm with you, sir.
Yes, thank you. We're going to claim that whiteness from Europe for a moment. And we think you'll help us this time. Dr. Winters has a minimum of 40 books in print on Amazon right now. And I asked the question, how many of you have gone to Amazon and purchased one of Dr. Winters' books? I'm sorry, they took my camera off. Notice we came on before 8 o'clock and they messed with my Wi-Fi all this time. This is one fantastic book. Ivan Van Sertima and all these other people whose books are way overpriced and compared to Dr. Winters. And he's the originator. He's like the Little Richard of Afrocentric history. Everybody else is a copy of him as an original. This is a great book here, African Empires in Ancient America. That's a book that you should get your hands on. He has another book here, Blacks in Europe. And we need to do a part 2. Are you down to do a part 2? We're not
whenever you're ready. Whenever you're ready,
look, we can come back because we're going to do this. Everybody, you're participating in the initial Angry Black Book Notes show. Because we got to, we do issues. Sometimes you just have to do issues and just to depress all of the coons out there. Donald Trump won New Hampshire. By the way, I think that's why I was having a problem. I told Sister Eve, they're worried about Donald. They want Donald Trump to lose tonight. I got the TV thing, or the camera came on after they gave it to Trump, y'all. They don't want anybody attacking Biden, and they wanted that tramp, Nimrata Randhawa, to win. She lost. I want to say to you, a lot of the channels that tell people the truth are getting strikes, getting shut down, getting harassed. I have never not been able to access a camera before. Yes. So we want, and we will have, the Angry Black Notes, Angry Black Books, book note. Angry Black Book Notes.
So you got on my case last night. You did it too.
Yes. Well, no, but this is the Angry Black Men's Book Club.
Yes.
So look, we want people, folk need to wake up and get mad. Now, I want to say to you, this channel, and we can put the time in because people do stuff to support us. If you had watched anything other than something you paid for, you would have been hit with 1 million commercials. Sister Eve, Dr. Winters, and myself, we put in work to organize, network, and inform the public. We need the public's help. Y'all can donate. I mean, Dr. Winters sent me this book. This is a free one. Thank you, Dr. Winters. I don't know what it costs you. It costs you like maybe $25, $30 to get this.
It don't matter, man. Your work is so important.
I thank you for this.
Your work is so important, man.
And then I got this from you. I bought about 30 books for you at one time, and I've been threatening people, and I've told folks, and now I'm at the point I refuse. I was in bed all day taking drugs, but cold drugs, so I could be up. And then Sister Eve and Sister Jade gave me all this positive Sister Wazi energy to come and make certain that I did not fail. I want to bring this book up to y'all. It's not by Dr. Winters, but it's easy. It's got lots of typos in it, but it's a good book. It's called The Negro Rulers of Scotland and the British Isles by Dr. John Johnson, Dr. John L. Johnson. It's on Amazon. I don't think it costs but like $10, $12. It's useful.
Yeah.
It's useful. It's useful.
And it tells you and it tells you where the word nigger came from.
It
The
tells
word
you where the word
nigger,
nigga comes from.
right? The
And
word
that,
nigger was the name
So it's
of the
crazy because
Scottish kings.
they'll you said it's got a lot of typos in it, and people will say that that's the reason that you shouldn't read the book.
no.
You know, they'll go straight for, you know, grammar or, you know, that type of thing because it hasn't been credentialed by the people. I think
No,
that's
no.
interesting.
But no. I wish I could say to Johnson, the same way for Dr. Imhotep, I'm going to tell you something. Dr. Imhotep, how many years did it take him to get that book edited, Dr. Winters?
You mean the second edition? About
The
5.
second edition.
About 5 or 6.
It took him 5 or 6 years. He couldn't find anybody. I'm not trying to toot my own horn, but someone asked me to edit Dr. Imhotep's book. And I was writing a book for someone else. I didn't have the time, but I told Dr. Imhotep, I'm going to get you an editor, and they're going to serve you. They're not going to
Yeah.
overcharge you, and they're going to do everything that you need. And
Yeah.
my friend, a sister from Chicago, Sister Janet Shelton, edited that book for him for maybe about $600-700, which isn't a whole lot for editing.
Yeah.
And that book, she literally put a Black woman put that book together for Imhotep.
You know it.
Because, let me say this, I'll stop.
Yeah.
And this sister, her family's from Mississippi and then Chicago, and she's a Choctaw, like a whole bunch of us. We all got, you gotta do it faster. we all got together to help Dr. Imhotep, and we have to support each other. Back to my point, y'all should donate to this channel. I've got this brother I want to bring on for Angry Black Book Notes. His name is Nathan Thompson, and he's got the books on the policy kings of Chicago about how Black organized crime used to look out for us.
Yeah.
They used to make Black crime pay. Black criminals used to be about some shit. Now Black criminals are scummy. Everything has gone down. Black crime used to be cool.
Yeah.
All I want y'all to know, if the better you guys do, the better we can do. Dr. Winters and I are going to do more of these shows because some people, you know, a lot of these platforms, the people are very, very petty. It's like a person with the premature ejaculation.
Right.
They can only do a topic when everybody's paying attention to it, then they drop it. We need continuous, solid information coming out, whether we have 100 followers or not. We'll do a show. We have 5 people. We don't give a damn. We're going to keep teaching and sharing.
And a lot of people don't understand is that that's why you can't be selfish. You see, but it's just sad. It's sad is that we have to be B1. We lost America. We lost Africa off the same thing is that we did not want to stick together. There's a lot of brother fuckers. And those brother fuck, and there's some sister fuckers too.
Pork chop feminists.
That's right. And these brother fuckers,
castrating, man stealing.
Right.
Hoes.
Yes. And we stab each other in the back. And see, that's how he took over America. You know, when you read about the Tuscarora War, here's the Tuscarora War. These people, these Aboriginals and Black Europeans and Africans, they decided they was going to try to free themselves from being exploited. And do you know what? Only 39 Caucasians was able to get 1,000 Black Indians to help them kick the other Black Indians' ass. We're pathetic.
We're pathetic. And the Aboriginal, the Black folk over here, there was a slave trade among the Black Indians here.
But it didn't start till the white man got here.
I know it came when the white folks came, but it's interesting. Why is it that it's so easy for them to kick off bad habits among us? And why is it so hard for those of us to do the right thing to kick off good habits?
Because the thing is this is that it's our egos. It's our egos. Why is it that you go in the Black community and you see 6 gangs instead of 1? Why is it that if you go into the Black community, you see 5 churches on the same block instead of one big church for everybody.
And all the preachers are stupid.
Well, they do what they do.
Oh,
see,
my left nut is on fire tonight. Oh, I just can't wait for some tax-free money. And I'm going to sleep with your wife when you don't
get the honey.
Hey. Well, now, let me tell you something. Well, let me stop clowning. We're going to be serious tonight.
But I mean, when I was growing up, I love my father. I miss him a lot. But when I was growing up, I used to, the wine heads, they used to always tell me, they say, Clyde, you talk a lot of shit. Man, you should be a preacher, man. You get them women and you touch them right here in the back and they give you all their money. You got to be a real pimp. They said a real pimp, Clyde, is a preacher. You got to use that voice or something more than teaching these kids.
Yeah, you need to lead them to Jesus. Lead them to Jesus and lead them to your bedroom. And you want their purse open more than their legs. Someone say amen.
Amen.
Ooh, I'm going to use somebody. Do you want to be used by the Lord?
Leave them alone. Stop.
God wants to use you. God wants to use you. He wants to use you right now.
Stop.
Sorry, let me stop.
Because we got, I think it's some real preachers out there. Everybody not listening.
But they're too few.
But everybody not listening to Jakes.
Not Jakes. That's come on, y'all. Y'all knew he was weak. And y'all knew TD Jakes was weak. You knew Eddie Long was weak, and he had the wrong last name to be in that business.
You sure?
And Cash Flow
Eddie Long? Eddie Long?
And his wife's name is Taffy Dollar, should be Daffy Dollar. I don't know. This is really, I'm sorry, y'all. But anyway, now let me see, it's headed towards 10. How much longer do you want to go? Because we can do this again.
Whenever you're ready, because we haven't ever finished the Black Power stuff. Family, I want to tell you about Eve. Eve, this sister, she don't never sleep. I always listen to the programs when she with Dewan B. Dewan B is the man. And she don't never sleep, but you know what I found so wonderful about this young lady is that she has a program where she's teaching the youth. She's teaching the kids. She's not just sharing that wisdom. She's not just sharing that love with her own children. She's teaching the kids online. And Eve, I just want to say congratulations, and I love you for that. I love you for being able to share a part of you. How can you do that, Eve? How can you do it?
Well, she is a WASI, and WASI's a miracle woman. I want to say this because Dr. Winters, speaking of Black power, it's personified. We have the original DC area, the spook that sat by the door.
Oh, wow.
It was a bad Black cop for all the right reasons. Brother Lone Wolf down here, who teaches people about firearm safety and protection. He is a certified NRA expert in weaponry and training and safety. And he is a partner in what we're calling the United Black Media Matrix. We are the United Black Media Matrix. And that's why you've got not just me, you've got platforms. Eve has platforms. Brother Lone Wolf has platforms, and I have them. And I don't care if other people see the content, but at the same time, I'll be very disappointed, people, if they lavish money on the Coon platforms and y'all don't pick up Dr. Winters' book, that you don't get behind Sister Eve, the original WASI, or actually Eve has a name. She is Madam Minister of Space.
Right.
And then Brother Lone Wolf Firearms, by the way, does firearm instruction. And anybody wants discount training and advice and consulting about, having a weapon of your choice at home to protect yourself or your family, or to intimidate your enemies, or whatever you need to do. If you want your life to improve and feel more safe, like we sing, just a closer walk with thee. That closer walk is even better when you're strapped and packed. You need to hook up with Brother Lone Wolf here. He is our big brother. He provides security, training, you name it.
Right.
He can break a nigga's jaw. He can also tell you about if you're a criminal and you've got like a felony record. He can show you some uh, weapons that can detain or stop or deter people. If he can't get you something lethal, he can get you the next best thing.
Family.
Crossbows, he knows it. We're talking about Robin Hood with dreads. That's him. A black
Family.
Hood. Okay,
Family. You know, since I heard about Lone Wolf, I'm gonna throw my zip gun away. I'm gonna throw my zip gun away.
and get a real one.
I'm getting rid of those 22 bullets, and I'm gonna take away the holy nail. I'm gonna buy a real weapon, baby.
Yes.
There you go.
And have a very angry black person show you how to use it. You know, as the Jackson say, let me show you the way to go.
Can you hear me?
Go ahead. Speak.
First, I would like to
And then
say
we're gonna get back to y'all. All right.
First, I would like to say greetings to the platform. It's my first time on the line with Dr. Winters, Sister Eve. I bid you respect.
Thank you.
And thank you, Dr. Short, for the invite. I'm actually just finished up a class on tonight. I don't just do it on Saturdays and Sundays and Fridays. If you need training, we're going to have that training. So when I saw the invite, I said, let me go check it out. Again, I'm just glad to be here. I heard some of the discussion, and I'm just glad to just be in the presence of some good brothers and sisters that's about the liberation and justice for us and the truth. And yes, I do guns. I'm a retired police officer of the prestigious Metropolitan Police Department out of D.C. I gave them almost 3 decades, and I've taken my skills and my knowledge, and I've decided to form Lone Wolf Firearms because I believe that there is a lone wolf in all of us, and we don't need to wait for somebody to do something that we can do ourselves. And so I look forward to training, whether it's virtual or in person. But at the end of the day, we need to get ready because I know how this thing works, and it ain't time for you to stay. You need to be getting ready right now. I think everybody, if you listen to me, I need you to get 4 guns. You need to get you a semi-automatic handgun. You need to get you a revolver. You need to get you a shotgun, and you need to get you a rifle. And you need to have a minimum 250 rounds per gun. And I mean that. Because we're in some very hostile times. And again, if I didn't care for you, I wouldn't say this. But I realize this, that the proof of love is the willingness to protect. So I'm about protecting our people and just sounding the alarm. Yeah. But again, I thank you for just being able to be on this platform with so many good people. And I'm humbled and I'm thankful. And I just look forward to the rest of the conversation.
And we're going to do his themes. Blacks just have to have guns. Oh, blacks just gotta have guns. That's what
Facts.
we really want.
Facts.
Black guns.
Don't
you be caught out without one. Blacks, they've gotta have guns.
Yeah, family.
Oh, blacks just gotta have guns.
Family. If you want to be supportive, also you can join my Patreon. Go to Patreon, look under Clyde Winters, join me. My Patreon, I really appreciate, I really love the members of my Patreon because see, I do a lot of research. I do a presentation every Thursday on my platform, Afrocentric History. And every Thursday when I do this program, I try to keep up with the latest research. And what that means is that a lot of times I have to get articles, but a lot of times these articles are behind paywalls. Yes. I might have to buy a new book. And my Patreon, because of the fact that they support me every month, only $5. They support me every month. This allows me to be able to get those articles. Exactly. It allows me to buy those books, I mean, that's one of the reasons.
Are not like Kamala. Right. They're behind the paywall.
Right.
And you have to pay. I mean, this stuff, good information, it ain't free.
Right.
It's interesting. A lot of our people go to stuff, and a huge amount of stuff in our community is free. That is not the way
Not free.
that the world works. So if I want something, I got to pay for it to get it. Even for me to have multiple guests, I get a professional account so I can put it other places and so forth. But Dr. Winters, tell them your Patreon again.
Well, it's Clyde Winters, Afrocentric History. Patreon, you can go to Patreon and just put in Clyde Winters, Afrocentric History, and it'll come up. The most important thing you got to remember is that I've been sending when I found out about the great research that Dr. Short was doing, I've been sending him a lot of books, and the reason I was able to get those books was because of the support of, in a sense, my Patreon. And I appreciate all of you. And some people have even sent me, Cash App, especially when I'm on Quinn's show, when I'm on Q's show, I'm on Afro Elite show. A lot of people have even send me Cash App, and that's welcome. But you also got to support, Dr. Short. You got to give Dr. Short some support. You got to go to his Cash App right now. Right now, everybody should at least send him $5. I didn't say $2.99, but I appreciate that too.
You know what? $2.99. That's Kamava's price. Don't insult me.
They don't insult me. I appreciate it. I appreciate it. But help a brother out. Help a brother out, because see, this activity. If you notice, I was the only one using cuss words tonight. Today, you saw the intellectual side of Dr. Short. Dr. Short can play many roles, you see. But see, this is his Angry Black Man Book Club, and what he wants to do and what we're going to help him do is he wants to present literature to us. He wants us, in a sense, to understand. If anybody has followed me when I was on our Reverend Matthews platform, and even if you look at my videos, I got almost 300 videos. Please subscribe to my page. Subscribe come and subscribe to also to Dr. Short's page. But anybody who's seen any of my lectures, I always explain and always discuss the fact that we've been writing literature for over 10,000 years. Yes, we've got inscriptions dating back 10,000 years, and yet that European, he's been telling us to run away from literature. See, he's been telling us to run away from books. That's why we didn't know about Dr. Short's ancestor. I didn't know it was the Winters over in Ireland going around kicking ass. In fact, I'm really mad at David McRitchie. I really hit him in the nose. He's talking about the only reason that my family had any success is because we kicked ass. I'm sorry. People like you to kick their ass.
And I want to thank Tavon Boone. Somebody blessed me with the donation. That makes you feel like it's worth it. Trust me.
Yeah, Boone, thank you. He sent me.
Thank you. And that is much appreciated.
Because
you don't have to, but nobody has to, not really. I look at white supremacists and other people, and when they speaking up for what they consider a white cause, they don't have to beg. It just comes. You support a Jewish thing, it just comes.
And they have thousands. They have thousands
Black
of dollars.
folk, you speak up, you're on your own. We have to stop divesting in each other. Sister Eve is a real sister. If she has a concern, no matter what it is, I don't have to agree with what happened, but I have to say we have to respect and treat each other with dignity. You stand with people. You don't care. You care and you don't care. What we do, we do. None of us is perfect. But you know what?
None of us.
We're all brothers and sisters, and we're all part of a community and a collective, and we all bleed red, and we're all in the same struggle, whether we recognize it or not. So if Brother Juan, he's a doctor of guns, Dr. Gun, Dr. Trigger. No, that sounds too close to Dr. Gun or Dr. Firearm, whatever. If people come and talk to me, we try to figure out how we network. So you're with Afro Elite. I introduce you to Afro Elite. I want you to know Sister Eve. I want you to do shows with Sister Eve. I want you to do a show with Lone Wolf. I introduce you to Quentin. And I want everybody to know that I'm waiting for someone. One of my contributors is going to pay for me to get a new mixer and sound and such, so my sound is better. Someone complained about it. I don't like it either, but you work with what you have till you can get better. But I want to tell you something. That person's giving not just out of their heart, but we're going to be broadcasting through Diaspora Global very soon, which is in Europe.
I want to thank Starlet
It's in
Thompson
Africa,
for your
it's in the Caribbean,
donation.
and it's in Latin America. So yeah, people should. And someone else, one person that always, I'm not gonna say how much. I'm just thankful that they did it. I from Boone, I think I saw Starlet Thompson, who always
Yes,
gives
yes.
way more than than what you expect. I'm thankful for whatever it is. I'm always glad about that because some of us have thousands and thousands of followers. We have thousands of followers. If they all did like 250 or 299, it would be cool. So it all works out. Not mad, not whining. Just
Yeah.
want you guys to know every little bit helps. And I want to stop doing this. And I want to go back to our conversation. Can we at least go for another hour? We can get back and then we can do a part 2 at a half hour. You may be sleepy. You know, it may be
Well,
Geritol.
I think I think I got to get my Geritol. But this is what I want to do. What I'd want to do is this: is that we lost 20 minutes tonight because your show is running for 20 minutes. Let's just do this another time, and we can start at the beginning, and hopefully we can get more people involved and stuff. Instead of continuing it to 10, I could go to 11 or 10 or whatever.
No.
I think it'd be best if we wait and do this again and do this at another time so that we can get people involved and people can see and that people can learn. Because see, the thing is this: is that you guys, what I want to do, and I want to thank you. I want to thank you, Dr. Short, because I've been begging you. He hasn't written the book yet. I can't get him to write the book yet.
Not a new book.
But I'm so happy that he shared to you. But he didn't really go deep. He's a very modest man, and I want him to stop that modesty. And I want him, next time we talk, he's going to go all the way back to the 800s AD.
Oh God, I need to put that in. All I'm going to say to you is, Dr. Winters, I did get them. I need to go back down and put the names. I started working on one family, and if I pulled it up, I went back to somebody's like 12th great grandparent, and that person was born 500 years ago. So I was like, you could spend weeks and days on just one family line, just trying to pull it together. Right. So I'm going to try to focus on a couple, but I just want to encourage people, enjoy book notes. Right. What do you think about Friday or Thursday?
Thursday I do my other show, and I'm
okay.
I do my other show Thursday. If you want to, Friday, maybe. Friday is fine.
Mm-hmm. Friday. Okay. And it can be earlier. Does it have to be late?
Nope. It can be I have to get my grandson. He comes on, he arrives the train from work. So
family first.
It has to start at 8:00 your time. Because that time unless we did it earlier in the day.
Well, we can do either or, both and. We can do it in pieces. More importantly, I wanted to jumpstart and get back on top of books. Okay. I'm trying to help launch the other people. We have one more thing to do, and that is to get a WASI panel for our Black sisters that are on point. People like Sister Eve need to be supported. They need to see that they're Black men that support Black women that are outspoken. I really want people to do that. So, but we got the other things. We got Lone Wolf moving. We got Chef C moving. We got Brother Quentin, who's back instead. And now I can get back to the books, which, believe it or not, even if I don't do it, I miss doing them. I have them stacked up here ready to go. And so let's stop here. We're going to do a part 2 to this. And I want to thank everybody for your patience in relationship to StreamYard. This thing that we ain't gonna let nobody turn me around, turn me around, turn me around. You don't let nobody. We're not gonna let anybody turn us around. We're gonna keep doing our thing. And so thank you for participating in Angry Black Book Notes. On behalf of the Angry Black Men's Book Club, I thank you. I thank all of you. I thank you, Brother Lone Wolf. Sister Eve, how soon can we have a Twitter space with Dr. Winters and Brother Lone Wolf? I want we can do this matrix thing where we have him up on 4 or 5 platforms. I want to say one thing because Dr. Winters is the humble person. Ivan Van Sertima and a whole bunch of other people have scammed and ripped off this elder here, and he's been very cool. He didn't say it, I did. I promised Dr. Winters I would do everything I could. Everybody's going to know your ass when I get through talking about it because I can't shut the hell up once I know something. I was able to do it for Irene Morgan. You can Google her. Nobody knew about Irene Morgan before 1997 when Bill Clinton gave her an award. Nobody knew about Irene Morgan until I got serious about letting people know about the Black woman that beat 2 cops' ass in 1944 and went to the Supreme Court and won. Now you even hear about her on Jeopardy. And that happened while she was alive. So if I've given my word, Dr. Winters, everybody's going to know you. And Sister Eve, I would be so honored in this new endeavor for doing the Black Diaspora Global Network for you to be one of my hostesses or correspondents. The word "ho" is too bad these days. So just we don't want that. Okay, y'all. May the Lord bless and keep you, cause His face to shine upon you and give you peace. Know that we're going to be doing a show on Thursday. Pat Talk for all we patriarchs that hate feminism and want reparations. I will be doing a book show tomorrow. I still want to do something on. I have one that I will be doing with Quincy at some point this week. Quentin, Quincy, whatever, Q. And of course, Dr. Winters and we're going to get together on Friday. We'll put that out. And also, I was sick this week, but for all of you religious people that still believe in Jesus and like the Bible, we'll be doing our Sabbath sermon. We'll continue with God's message to the Black Americans on Saturday. As well, I'll be doing something hopefully with Black seniors on Sabbath. I'll try to put that up for y'all as well with Sister Giselle. So this is like the new season. So y'all take care. Good night. God bless. Hello to everybody. You can always email me if you don't get a question or something answered. Someone answered stuff. Just don't ask foolish questions like, how do Black people end up as slaves? That shit happens to everybody. Everybody goes through periods where they get oppressed. Please don't be childish and emotional. People do it for money. If you want to contact me, wrandyshort@gmail.com is the best email. And wrandyshort is my Zelle or PayPal. And Dr. Randy Short is the Cash App. Thank you for the donations. Thank you for the support. Thank you for looking up. And Brother Lone Wolf, you and I need to do a show again.
Yes, we do.
If anybody would like for Brother Bag X to come in,
we want him. We want Bag X.
Brother Bag X.
We want Bag X.
Talk about politics from a very ignorant, self-loathing, pathological Black for young people who don't like serious stuff. Brother Bag X is taking requests. You can send an email to me. And I want to know if there's an interest.
And maybe I know that sometimes you're real, but maybe we can get Quentin. And I'd like you to interview Bag X. But if you're unavailable, if you could get Quentin to interview Bag X, we would really love to see this because we need some help from the grassroots. roots. And Bag X is from the grassroots.
Yes, he's from the weed roots. Okay. Good night, guys. Good night.
Good night. Take care, everybody.
Night.
Thank you, sir.